when someone comes in to buy an animal with us, we always send home the health guarantee with all of our information on it so they can reach out to us if they have any questions. And then on that health guarantee, we write out pretty much anything that they want to know. So like if they're really, really nervous, I've done we'll either print out like full care sheets, or I'll write everything down. Like, this is the temperature range you want. This is what you're going to do every single day. This is what you're going to want to watch out for.
Hey, welcome back to the Gecko Cove Connection. My name's Bobby, and today I'm going to be interviewing Alison and Andy from Curious Creatures Pet Store. They're located in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side, sort of by Wrigleyville. If you're up near that area, definitely go check them out. But we're going to talk today about some great stories about their experience owning a reptile store, starting it, maintaining it. They've been doing this for 10 years. They were my local store when I lived in Chicago, and it really changed my view of how to keep reptiles. I was introduced to so many new species, and really I was spoiled because they do a fantastic job at maintaining not only a diverse group of animals, but also housing them appropriately and really being great stewards in the hobby. So if that sounds interesting to you, you're in the right place. Welcome to Gecko Cove. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Gecko Cove Connection. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing not one, but two guests. We have Andy and Alison from Curious Creatures. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, this is a really special podcast for me because Andy and Alison you guys still own the local store to where I first started getting back into reptiles. I was sort of into fish in my mid-20s, maybe late 20s. I won't say exactly where I was. And I lived in Chicago with my, at that time, girlfriend, now my wife. And down the street, all of a sudden, my wife comes home and says, there's a new store coming in, and I found it's a reptile store. It's totally up your alley. You should go check it out. And I walked in, and it was your store, and it blew me away. I've never seen anything like it. It was just absolutely amazing. So you guys, from day one, welcomed everybody in. You give them such great information. But let's kind of go back. How did you guys get into opening a reptile store? Where did Curious Creatures come from?
Why are you looking at me? So once we moved in together, my mom never let me get any sort of snakes or anything exotic like that. And then once we moved in together, he really wanted a tortoise. And we went to the local pet store in Evanston at that time, and he got a tortoise there. And I fell in love with the snake and ended up actually going back the next day and getting that snake.
Awesome.
1 turn to 3 to 5 to 7 to into the teens, to his parents starting to joke around that we should open our own store about it. And we kind of, played it off as a joke at the time, but then we really started to consider, because we got such a huge collection that we were having a harder and harder time getting all the supplies and the feeders needed to care for that collection. So we really looked into the possibility of opening a store, and there was nothing really like it at the time. So yeah.
Very cool. A great location. You guys are in northern Chicagoland, and I'll definitely put a link down in the description of your website if you want to check out where you are exactly. So, all right. So where did the name Curious Creatures come from? So you're starting a new store. I think that's one of the first things people want to do is name it.
Yeah. I mean, like whenever you're trying to think of names, you want to have something that kind of draws people in. I mean, we're a family store, so I think we're looking for, a name that, drew people
something
in,
friendly, and, something that would kind of reach to all audiences and not necessarily like the whole,
There's certain names that, like, for example, when I came up with my name, right? I pitched a few and Melissa goes, absolutely not. You're not doing any rack puns. Okay. No rack puns whatsoever. Right. And I get it, like, it just, I don't want to, put some people off. So yeah, yours is very inviting. Your logo is really cool. I like it. I'll post it right here. And, did you guys draw that? Did you have an artist draw that?
Yeah, so, my friend, George Foltz, he still lives in Chicago. He's a an artist. He does a lot of like comic book drawings. So yeah, I like, he was cheap too. So
when you're starting out, you need affordable.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, our main, like at the time when we opened the store, we didn't breed anything really. The only thing we accidentally bred at the time were red-eye croc skinks, which were one of like my first lizards. And
very cool.
Like that kind of started the passion of breeding. But I like knew ahead of time once we kind of picked the name that I wanted like in the logo, which, you see, pretty much the three main reptile groups we would sell. So, tortoise, snakes, lizards.
That's awesome.
Like my friend did a pretty good job, I think. So
I liked it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a very cute little logo.
What year did you guys open up?
Do
you remember?
2014.
2014.
How do you not know?
It's been a while. You guys are really doing well.
Years.
It's about we've been open for about 9 years, and this upcoming April is going to be our big 10-year anniversary. And I'm very excited for that.
Congratulations. That's huge. 10 years in business.
Yeah. It's been a lot.
So you guys have a ton of experience to share with us tonight for sure. You opened up in 20. Well, you do.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I definitely, I've thought about it. Actually, people think it's just plain. I think that people have a misconception that, if you open up a hobby store or a store that has something to do with your passion, that it's just, well, I get to go and play all day. And I have to admit, when I interact with you, it seems like you're having fun. Are you guys having fun when you're interacting, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
With customers?
Most days.
Most days,
awesome.
Yeah.
Just like any other.
And then you get annoying ones.
Yeah, you're good.
You're fine. It's just like any other retail store. You occasionally will get the rude customer, and it's just all about, trying to make everyone happy, but also, making sure that everyone in the stores and all the animals are well cared for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll get to how you take care of your animals, because I've been to a lot of different pet stores and, specialty stores like yours. And yours is at the top of the heap. I mean, you guys really do care for your animals, and it shows with the size enclosures, how clean it always was. I mean, I could sing your praises, but I'm going to do that anyway later today. All right. Walk us through, obviously, you kind of mentioned you guys keep tortoises, lizards, and snakes. What are some of the species that you guys currently have at your store right now that you're excited about? I was always drawn to you guys by, at the time, bearded dragons were kind of my jam.
Sure.
Andy, you introduced me to Ackies for the very first time. I think you were breeding red Ackies. What else can people find at your store right now?
Alison does more of the snakes, so ball pythons.
A lot of ball pythons now.
So she's,
very cool.
Hopefully get breed more green tree pythons.
Mm-hmm. We're raising some corn snakes, so we're going to start getting into corn snake breeding in a year or two. They'll be big enough to do it. Dumerals we're going to do this year. We're going to do Brazilian rainbow boas this year. Those I'm really excited about. We started our cool down cycle actually at the end of the week. So yeah.
And then for lizards, beard dragons this year, we've overproduced. That was my fault. But we kind of this was our first year doing reds that were all 100% het for zero. So then,
cool.
We got a lot of zeros the ethical way, because we bred no zeros and pure zeros as a parent. So we end up getting a lot of zeros, hypo zeros. And then this year was our second year breeding Rankins dragons too.
I love those. Those are cool. Yeah. You don't see those very often.
Yeah.
So we kind of flooded the market a little bit with those this year. We had a lot of babies this year.
Yeah.
With the Rankins dragons?
Yeah. We have a trio. Yes, we've got two girls.
Oh, nice.
They each laid 3 clutches of 10 to 15 for most. So,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So,
we had a lot of babies.
But, and then geckos, gargoyles still for sure. Leachianas. We're getting knobtail babies.
Yeah, we just had our first knobtail baby hatch of the year.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah,
I remember
croc skins too.
You got to go back to the original, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
actually
awesome.
the original pair.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought they were done, and I pretty much set them up in nice bioactive, kind of live their lives out, because mom and dad are like 12 at this point. And
all of a sudden, boom!
All of a sudden,
you just see a little baby scurrying across the back, and then we found what was it, like 3 eggs in there already, and so they've been, and they only lay like once every few months, 1 egg every few months. So we have just decided to kind of let them do their thing, and it's been working really, really well. To let the mom kind of raise the babies a little bit for a few months before we pull them.
Very cool.
Yeah. They're very maternalistic. Like they kind of like crocodiles. They're very. What is the term I'm looking for?
They have a big maternal instinct.
Nurturing.
Yeah, they're nurturing.
Yes. So.
That's cool because you don't see that with a lot of lizards. You know.
Right. Yeah. And like, that's when unique. The babies actually like try to run from us, they run straight to the mom, and the mom's just like, and she's the one she's always been sweet, but like that's the only time she'll give me an attitude. And I'm like, all right, once the babies are big enough, I'll take them, but first
you don't mess with baby, that's for sure.
She's actually charged at me once or twice when I've like gone in reaching for the food bowl or the water bowl, and the baby ran right to her, and I wasn't even going for the baby, but I was just going to get the food bowl, and she darted right out and just did a little charge at me to like say, hey, back off.
Oh geez.
It was
that's crazy.
Really cool to see.
Now, okay, do they have teeth where they could do some damage, or would that be kind of like a leopard gecko attacking you?
It's
like a leopard.
It's like a leopard gecko. I think if they really held on to you, it might little pinprick breaks the skin a little bit, but it won't do too much damage.
It's a flesh wound. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
An Ackie will do a lot more damage.
Yes. Yeah. Well, monitor lizards. Yeah. The teeth, they're meant to do a little bit more damage. Speaking of the Ackies, I know that Alison, you're really big into the snakes, and Andy, you've always been kind of the turtle guy, right? And tortoises. So is that still your passion projects? What are you guys working on right now as far as, just to keep things fresh? What do you guys work on? Or the most excited about working on?
Yeah, so it's always kind of dangerous when you go to like the NARBC shows, like Alison, she's kind of like we've had this male blue rat snake,
he's
Blue Beauty.
So pretty.
And like he's pretty, but he's like a cobra. He's like 9 feet.
He's long. He is very, very long.
Yeah, so she, without my permission, got a female. Like hatchling, we'll like a lot of it's like we have like males or females of a certain species, and it's just kind of waiting for the right time, or you just luck out and find
right.
So and I hadn't seen any other female of that particular species, and so I was like, I'm doing this. Like,
strike while the iron's hot.
And and so if we can start breeding them, I mean, she's got a little ways to go before she gets big enough. It'll be a few years, but they're beautiful animals. And while he is not the nicest, she is actually really well handleable. So I'm hoping to keep working with her so that at least she'll be nice and
kind of show her off a little bit.
Big. Oh yeah.
No,
I mean, you can take him out, and he's the type of snake. Movement really attracts him. So like if you wave, if you hold him and you're just like waving, he'll go for the hand that's waving. He won't even care about whatever he's sitting on.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not a snake guy. You probably know this because you're actually the person who handed me my very first snake. I don't know if you knew that. Well, you handed me a ball python.
I didn't know it was your first one.
It was just a ball.
No, it was my very first snake.
You put a ball like right in the middle, like just in his palm.
You did, and you're just like, please just don't freak out. And I was like, all right, cool. I won't freak out. And I remember holding it going, I could do this. And that was such a cool experience. I bet you have that experience with all people, different customers every so often, but snakes are one of those scary things because they have a stigma to them, right? And once you get used to them, that you realize, oh, this is not a scary noodle, it's just a fun noodle, right?
Exactly. And
some take a little bit more than others.
Yeah, I mean, it's also really nice because like we breed all the babies there, so it's like this is just a little baby, like nothing's gonna happen, and I just kind of work people through them. I was like, just touch them first, and then they kind of get a little comfortable, like, oh, they're not slimy, they're not gross, they're actually very, very soft. And then it's like just hold them right in the ball and just stay calm, and it's going to be fun. And they end up really liking them.
Yeah. What would you say is the number one snake that you guys sell to first-time owners? Would it be a ball python?
Pythons or corn snakes are going to be our top 2 contenders. Generally, with kids, with families with younger children, I like the ball pythons better because it's a thicker, heavier bodied animal, and it's not going to be this tiny little noodle wiggling around and freaking out with everything. So they are calmer, slower species. And for little kids especially, it's kind of easier for them to hold that ball versus like a little corn snake. Now, once you get them a little older, around 10, 11, then they have a little bit more movability, and they understand that like this isn't just something to, you got to be a little bit more gentle with it, but it's a little bit more fun for them.
Yep.
So
because the corn snakes, the colubrids, is kind of like the walking, like with other reptiles, where they're just on the go. They'll calm down eventually, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Andy? What are you working on right now? Is it still tortoises?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it because like the Yakis and like certain species we've been breeding for like 5-6 years. A lot of it is like the Yakis, especially. I've been, we haven't really produced any the last year because it's more. And breeding, you go from, having your main breeders, but they get older. So then you have to hold back some babies and get new blood in there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a, transitional period.
It just goes up and down. Yep.
Yeah, like waves. Exactly.
So the same thing happened with like the bearded dragons like 2 years ago. And then, so we didn't really produce beards for like, 2 years ago. And then, this year we had like way too many because it was the first year. And
and you also did 5 girls this year.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of babies.
5 girls to 2 boys.
Yeah.
So they did back-to-back clutches of about 25 or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll get
fire sale on
yeah.
Hey,
bearded
Christmas
dragons
is right around the corner, so
Yeah, but
that's
also like
great.
blue-tongued skinks. I still have just one I call her Big Mama. She's been my only breeder for Northerns.
Okay.
But like her daughter, I've held back 3 years. She went this year, but she had one stillborn, so I'm hoping like next year will be her first like producing year. So it's a lot of like, you don't want to like overwhelm yourself too much. And for lizards, I think we've like 10, 12 different species of breeding, so it's kind of just more focusing on that. I know I've been communicating with you with the gargoyles. Like I have 2 females that about 2 years old.
Oh,
so
that one is so pretty.
Yeah, I have a really pretty red, kind of similar to the red that you showed me.
Yeah,
like
the red male.
Yeah, like the red male, like a red female.
She's absolutely gorgeous. She's like almost on par with that male. Man, she is so pretty.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
Well, do me a favor then. Send me a picture of her, and I'll post it right here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So you've got the 2 females. So going back to the gargoyles. So I'm going to tell a little story real quick because you guys, again, I give you credit for getting me back into reptiles. I felt comfortable with leopard geckos, and I bought 2 leopard geckos from you guys. I actually won a leopard gecko in one of your giveaways. I think it was one of your
raffles. Yeah,
one of the raffles, and I love that.
Anniversary, we usually do like 2 or 3 raffles, like snake gecko, sometimes a tortoise, depends.
It was great too because I just started working at the high school that I still work at today, and that was my very first year there. So I, actually brought that gecko to school, and people know me at school as the bearded dragon and the gecko guy, right? And so you guys helped out with that. Awesome. And then I remember I bought an egg from you. I was that weird customer who's like, I really want to hatch something out because there was always that drive in me to want to produce something, but I didn't know how to go about breeding. And all of a sudden I heard about these geckos called crested geckos that, you showed me. And I think as soon as you took it out, it pooped all over you is what I remember at least. Yeah. It's one of the males. And I thought it was so cool. And you're like, yeah, I've got some eggs. And I go, well, would you ever sell me just the egg? And we actually worked it out. I don't know if you've ever had somebody ask that ever after me, but
I don't think
I actually hatched it out.
Yeah.
I'm a strange bird sometimes, so apologize. You guys handled it perfectly. Yeah, you sold me an egg for the same cost it would cost to have a healthy baby, and I thought it was the best deal ever. And I remember watching that
too. We had this discussion. My biggest thing was like crested geckos. You usually don't really catch them hatching or piping. If you're lucky, you are. Like, did you catch yours?
Not that one. No, and you were 100% correct. So I actually kept that in a drawer in my like fish tank stand, right? So in my apartment at the time. And so I just opened the drawer one day and all of a sudden there was a baby there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did not see it. But it was still cool to see a little tiny baby like that for the very first time. And now I've had that experience multiple times this year, producing both Urodactyloides back when I started a few years ago, and then now the gargoyle geckos. And I have been so lucky, and I'm actually proving you wrong a little bit. I've seen probably over half of my babies hatch out. I've got some of the warning signs, but I'm sorry?
For both
species.
But that's so cool.
What's cool about it is, well, just me checking just constantly probably plays a factor, right? And so it's not like I have 100 eggs and a bunch of stuff to look at. You know, I'm literally like counting down the days. Okay, we're at 90. We're at 95. We're at 100 days. Okay, it's really got to hatch soon. And so, you know, I'll even like go and watch TV upstairs just in case I see it like start to get, you know how the eggs when they're about to hatch get that water, the sweat on them. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, I'm camping out or, you know, just hanging out with the boys because I wanted them to see it. And I've told the story on the podcast before, but Georgie actually got to watch the geckos hatch out once. And it was just such a cool experience to have them on my lap watching the baby. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. So that's kind of got me into it. And I remember you showed me also a gargoyle gecko at the time. And this is no disrespect to you or your animals, but at the time there wasn't a lot of color on gargoyles. And so I'm looking at this gorgeous crested gecko, you know, with some pinstriping, right? Because that was pretty much what everybody was going for back then. And then you got this gargoyle, I'm like, meh. And now looking back, I'm like, dude, if I would have gotten into gargoyles then, imagine how much farther I would have been today, right? Yeah. So this close, but that's okay. You guys got me into reptile, so I'm happy with that. So okay, what is your girl? Is she a blotch or a stripe?
Striped, right?
You're talking about that. So we've like for gargoyles, we have
you got a few.
We do. We've got multiple. We've got two groups. One's a duo. One's a trio.
Right. And so the duo the pair. Is like our original pair, and then the trio is the boy from the duo, and then we got two females from Tiki Geckos.
Like nice.
Yeah.
Some good bloodlines. I like it.
Oh yeah. And then their offspring are two of the females we're raising. They're like probably like 6 months a year from like, you know, starting to lay eggs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When do you guys start to pair your geckos? You do it at 2 years, 3 years, somewhere in between?
I mean, most of them are actually just together. Like we just, once we pair them, we don't really separate them unless we start to see any signs of like aggression.
You're saying like age though, likewise?
Yeah, like age-wise, but when you before you pair them. No, but that's good too. That I was actually I've heard that a lot from people doing this podcast is that a lot of people just keep them together once they're together. And it reduces a lot of stress and
yeah.
Like unless like you see like
biting like, with the lychees,
right?
I had to separate
one of our
couple of my lychees like they've been breeding fine for 4 years, and suddenly my male is just getting shredded. Like his tail is gone. I'm just like, all right, well something's not working here. So
he forgot to take out the garbage, and she just got really upset. Finally, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with lychees is they can flip like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With gargoyle geckos, I don't think many people had that experience.
Like knock on
wood. They've been doing great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool. What so all right, so you've got your gargoyle geckos, your crested geckos. You said you have lychees. I remember you actually got your very first lychee while I was still living by you guys, because I used to come in weekly just in case the audience obviously doesn't know this. For feeders, you guys were like my hookup. And the reason why I rehomed my bearded dragon eventually was because it just wasn't as convenient as walking to your store and picking up 20 dubia roaches. And my wife does not want me to have a bin of roaches in my house. So, but I remember going in there and you guys were all excited about getting your very first lychee. I think you named it Mango.
Yeah,
is it Mango?
Kiwi Mango is still our pair.
Kiwi and
That's
Mango.
our main pair, yep.
Well,
no, we separated because Kiwi was getting nippy.
A little feisty. So Mango was the one who didn't take out the garbage.
No.
Yeah, but he's got a new girl now that like I paired them for like 2 months, and so far they look like he'll have a nice,
Now I have to come up with another fruit name.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. There's plenty of fruit in this world, You got guava coming up next. Love it. Yeah. All right. So you guys have to do a ton of education. Part of the reason I'm doing this podcast is I'm trying to selfishly learn from a bunch of people like yourself and all other breeders that I'm interviewing. But on a daily basis, you have so many different species. How do you go about educating your customers, especially when they're looking to pick up maybe their first or second reptile or something new? What do you find effective and what challenges do you face?
I think one of the first things I always ask them is like, have you ever had one before? Do you have any experience, or have you done any research yet on owning whatever animal they're looking into? Sometimes like, oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading and like searching on Google and stuff, but there's a lot of conflicting information. And then other times we get people are like, nope, I haven't done a thing. I just want to do this. And it's like, okay, let's go. And then sometimes they come in already knowing exactly what they want to get. Like, I want a snake, or I want this lizard, or, whatever species that they're interested in. It's like, okay, well, here are a couple that we can show you. And then in my personal preference is once you pick your animal first. Never go out and just get the setup and everything, because you're really limiting yourself to what you can actually put in there. So I always tell people, pick your animal first, especially with age and size. And then once you know the exact animal you want, then we can start saying, okay, well, it's a little baby or it's older one, we have to do an adult size cage. And then we start looking at the cage, and then we get into all the care requirements, heating, lighting, substrate, hiding places, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And the nice thing about your store, you guys carry all that stuff.
We carry everything. Yeah.
Right. Everything. So you can literally just like take them straight from the enclosure of whatever animal that is and go, hey, that's the cage you want. This is the substrate. This is the food. This is what it's going to, run you, which is a really nice thing when people go to your store.
Exactly. The only thing I think we don't carry is just going to be like the fruits and vegetables, but we have multiple lists that we can like let people take pictures of, or on our health guarantee, we'll write out like the majority of the stuff as well to help them.
Awesome. So what challenges do you guys face with certain customers when you're trying to explain this? Like, not everybody gets it right away, I'm assuming.
Right. Well, as a part of when someone comes in to buy an animal with us, we always send home the health guarantee with all of our information on it, so they can reach out to us if they have any questions. And then on that health guarantee, we write out pretty much anything that they want to know. So like if they're really, really nervous, I've done we'll either print out like full care sheets, or I'll write everything down. Like, this is the temperature range you want. This is what you're going to do every single day. This is what you're going to want to watch out for. So I'll write that down a lot of times for them. And sometimes people, it's so much information we're throwing at them. Sometimes they don't quite know the questions they want to ask until later. But again, we give them the information. They can always reach out to us on social media or our website. We do have an awesome little chat feature on there. And they can just kind of ask away on those.
Yeah, that's amazing that you guys are that resource too to go back to for this information.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially because you have so many different species you're working with, right? And to have that much knowledge, I really see you guys as experts in the field, because you have to keep up to date with that, right?
Oh, yeah. We're always learning. We don't know everything. We ourselves are still always learning about new species and new things and requirements.
Yeah. And so, I would love to say that every animal that gets sold in your store, or sold on a private message, or sold, in even a big box store, gets a forever home and no one ever needs to get rid of it. But I think that that's optimistic thinking to an extreme, right? So being a brick and mortar store, I see you guys sometimes. I've seen people try to drop off things, kind of like your, a firehouse, baby dropped off in a box outside. Do you guys see any trends recently with people trying to rehome their pets, and do they use you as a resource because you're that brick and mortar?
Yeah. So like, definitely when like in 2020 when COVID hit, everyone who needed a hobby, like, had to get one. So, like 2020 was our best
extra money.
year.
That was our best year.
Yeah.
And they're easier than a cat or a dog.
And it's like you have a lot of families, coming in because, their kids needed something in the house.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward to, I would say, a couple of years, end of 2022, and then pretty much all this year, you have kind of like the downward trend of, families going back to normal life. And, for a lot of them, the reptiles they got, early, are lifetime pets. But, you're going to have, a good percentage that have, it just didn't work out. It was more kind of just a
temporary
phase. Yeah. And
they lose interest,
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, the main species, ball pythons, beard dragons,
the Russian tortoises,
even like tortoises, like Russians.
Oh, really?
Redfoots too have become like a huge, like within like 2 months, we had like 6 or 7 donated from all sizes,
wow.
full grown to like 3-4 inches. So, it's but like the last couple months have been a little bit better, but it's everything comes in waves. So
So how do you take in every animal that someone tries to offer, or do you have to sort of limit that with the influx right now?
We take in as many as we can.
That's a good answer.
Too, like readier sliders.
I was just about to say.
You only have so many.
We only have so much space.
So I mean, we cap.
They only need 5 gallons each, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just only,
So,
They're like a beta fish. Get them in Chinatown. Oh man. Right. And you guys are closer, to that, so you probably, see that quite often. So okay, that's interesting. So I could see, the bearded dragon, like the beginner pets. I see those being pets that people give up more frequently because it's just there's more of them out there in the hobby, right? And the first time pet keeper is more likely to, rehome their pet. Whereas if you're buying a green tree python, or you're buying, something a little bit more, exotic or harder to take care of, typically you're doing more research. Typically, you're not just, in it for a hot second and then you get rid of it. But even in the gecko world, you guys probably see this. There were a lot of people who got into it for the breeding aspect because they saw money. And right now, we're sort of in that flux where they're flooding the market with all these. It's a great time to buy. Great time to buy, everybody. But it really drives the cost down, and just the rehoming, difference reselling versus rehoming. But
I mean, and I think too, like gargoyles, like they're still, I think, a little bit easier to like move as opposed to like crested geckos. It's just like they're everywhere.
Yes.
But gargoyles is I found interesting because at first like you way back saw ours initially, like years back, didn't have much color, and now everyone went like super red, orange, the stripes. And now, like, I've been seeing more, people trying to go back to like the black and white ones, and the blotch, or even the reticulated ones, So I feel like if you're starting off in like crested gecko, gargoyle, you just have to kind of like pick a certain aspect of the mutation and just try and like, go for that, because,
Right, because it all comes back, the 80s clothes that were way out of style when I was in high school, right? All of a sudden the kids are wearing again today. And so it all comes back eventually. And the black and whites are definitely one thing that actually I saw at Tinley that was a trend. Was I had more people talk to me about F1s and wild caught gargoyles, and how they really wanted to get back into, whether it's an F1 or an F2, those older genetics, if they could find that, because what they're saying is they don't have nearly as much color, but they have the structure and they have the size. And that is really valuable in a closed population like we have, to really look at the overall health of the animals. And I think that's a really cool trend that I saw. So yeah, if you're holding on to that, 10-year-old gargoyle that has no color, but you find out it's it could be worth something to the right person.
Right.
Yeah.
Like with breeding,
right.
You always get attached and
right. I've got a few that I'm like, I don't care what happens, right? They stay with me forever, right?
Absolutely.
Even some of the babies, all of a sudden it's like, this is the best baby I produced in my first year. Like, there's no way. I don't care if you offer me 10 grand, I'll take it. So, yeah. One species, not to jump too far away from Gargs, but you guys have so much to talk about, and so to just talk about Gargs would be kind of boring on this one podcast. But one species that I was first introduced to through you guys, and you had a beautiful display right by your registrar, was now I'm going to blank on what it's called, the collared lizards. You guys had collared lizards.
Yeah,
and those were amazing.
Years.
Yeah.
We just had the.
I feel like there's not much of a market for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they don't like the really nice ones, the blazing blues, the neon blue ones. You can get like a nice penny for those, but collar lizards just don't produce that much. Like, if you're lucky, 2 clutches of like 5 to 10 at the most. So
yeah,
they're really cute. Like the babies are adorable. Like they're, because if the parents are like the Easterns, which are kind of just black and white, the babies are born with like neon green and blue on their backs.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Fades, but kind of like tegus with the green heads, and then as they get older, it fades.
But, yeah.
And
you got a gorgeous tegu too. I'm gonna do a little ADD here. Is it Gus?
They're still around somewhere. So.
They're there.
Yeah.
We have them.
Man.
Yeah, my oldest.
That's the other cool thing about your store.
Is like
he's like
there. 14.
Yeah.
Godzilla.
13.
Yeah.
13. He's getting there.
Yeah, because he had a huge enclosure. I remember that was on the bottom rack over on the side wall in your store.
8x3x3 or almost
he's still
3.
there.
He's still there. Yeah, and Buddy's
that's
right below
awesome.
Him, which is another large tegu that we have, and he's actually one of the ones that I take to like a lot of our educational shows or birthday parties because he's so sweet and like very well tempered, and the kids can come and pet him. It's very fun for them to have a large lizard like that. So.
That's so cool. Yeah, I got to bring my kids back to your store for nostalgia, but also to see him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I actually was inspired, and right before I got into gargoyles, I think I reached out to you guys to ask if you're still breeding the collared lizards.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a trio and kept them for a while. And because of the same dubia roach issue, I rehomed them and the bearded dragon at the same time. But because they just eat. They eat like monsters. It's so cool because they're like little velociraptors. And I was keeping them in a 6-foot long enclosure.
Oh, wow.
A custom background I did. I'll post a picture of it here. I'm really proud of it. Do you ever watch Serpa Design?
Is that like
it's a YouTube channel?
Or YouTube? Okay.
No. Serpa Design. What is his first name? But anyway, I'll send a link. I'll put a link down in the description too of his channel. Not that he needs it. He's got thousands of followers. But basically, he does amazing custom build enclosures and backgrounds and just a bunch of different things from reptiles to amphibians to snakes and even fish. But I mimicked one of his backgrounds, and that's how I learned how to do all the ledges and foam and dry lock it. And it was kind of cool. Yeah.
I don't have the patience for that. So.
Fair enough.
Can't do it.
I made such a mess in my basement. Never again.
Yeah.
But it was fun once, and I got it done. So, but what was cool about the having it 6 foot long was that you could actually see them chase stuff down, and that they can get up on their hind legs, and that's really kind of fun to watch.
They have like rabbit feet. I feel like the hind legs, kind of like a basilisk, they can just shoot up.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely little ninja monkeys. And then, and I find mine were pretty handleable. Did you guys find that? I know it's...
Yeah.
The male will get a little skittish here and there. But for the majority of the time, they were handleable.
All right, let's talk more about owning a reptile store. So you guys open up, you've got 10 years of experience. What challenges do you face on a daily basis that people just don't think about? Beyond just working with customers, what were some things that you're like, I had no idea before I jumped into this?
What?
I
I think it's the customers. It's, as you like to tell me, I need to get harder skin sometimes with, just sometimes you get that one customer and it can really just break you down almost. And some people are mean. So I just wasn't prepared for that part of it, I guess.
Sure.
A lot of little things get to me, and I've been trying to work on. I've been trying to work on like having a tougher skin.
Okay.
But yeah,
you're just a nice person.
Get to me.
If you don't mind me saying, like, I don't think, not. Yeah, seriously, like you guys are both always in a great mood when I would come into the store. But Alison, every time that I walked in, you had a smile on your face. It always seemed like you could be picking up, dog shit off the floor, and you're still smiling, right? Which you got dogs at your store sometimes, so that probably happens.
It happens. It happens. You got to be prepared for anything.
So I think that you definitely put on a good front for people if people are bothering you, and I think that's the great customer service people expect when they walk into your store.
Yeah, I think like for starting the store, like my biggest thing was like the number one thing when it comes to a reptile store is like we have to focus on animals first.
Yeah,
and so like the care and all that. So I mean, it's one of those like. Being a retail store, you're never going to have like perfect interactions with people. It's just, you can't. But so like any negative review we have, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as it's, about like interaction, like customers, because it happens. But
it's animals first.
Same thing against, like if they say something about the animal, then I'm more concerned. And
absolutely.
Like, fortunately, we haven't really had that. So but like
and that's the big knock on
some of that. But
the stores that you would compete with, right? The big box stores obviously sell reptile supplies. They sell some of the same animals, and they are trying to produce these. Well, they don't produce these animals, let's be honest here. They get them from a big distributor. But they are trying to sell these animals at the cheapest cost possible. They're trying to keep the cost down with all the other, enclosures, food, things like that. And so you're paying potentially maybe a little bit more for an animal at your store. But the difference is that you are keeping the animals, intentions first, right? You're keeping them in clean, healthy environments. You're going to give people that information. You're going to be there as a resource after the sale, which is huge. Let's go into the enclosures that you guys have at your store. Now, have they changed that much since I've been in? It's been a little bit since I've walked into the store, but they were fantastic.
Yeah, they're PVC and custom enclosures we got from monstercages.com.
Awesome.
Like 12 years ago. Because we got them like a year and a half before we even had the store. So they were just in my parents' basement.
Nice.
It's the only room,
Your parents sound like saints.
Oh, they are.
Oh, they completely are.
That's
have them watch this episode.
But
that's awesome.
So we still have, like the front of them, because when I had them created, I'm like, oh, like you definitely want the inside PVC to be like dark black,
darker,
because
the more
front,
secure.
Though I'm like, oh, it'll be nice and white and bright. And over time, that gets kind of like nicked up. So I think eventually we'll like
upgrade to
maybe
something.
Upgrade. But I mean, they're still like
they're
almost
still going strong. They're great.
Yeah,
so as long as they're good.
The PVC lasts a while, and hindsight's 20/20. If you could make them all black, maybe your store would look darker. Who knows? But Yeah, that was PVC. First time I ever saw PVC before PVC was a thing, because I feel like that's relatively new in the keeper world, right?
Right.
And so when I walked in there, it's like, wow, this is what a setup should look like, right? You had smaller enclosures for the babies and the medium size, and they were all different, and all super well lit. But not only people have nice enclosures, right? What I liked about yours is that when I walked in there, everything was very clean and organized. It takes no time to do that, right?
None at all.
None, right?
That's one aspect.
It just keeps itself clean.
Of having bigger enclosures is, like, it's easier to keep clean because, you can spot clean, but, when reptiles have more space, they're not going to just be constantly disgusting. So
yeah.
That was one
wallowing
aspect.
in it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So, it's like I said, I can't say I've been to a lot of different stores and I've seen, horrors, and I never saw anything like that at your place, which was great. What trends do you see in the reptile industry right now? You guys have a unique perspective. Like, there are certain species, like you mentioned you're starting to breed Dumeral boas.
Yes.
I don't think anybody knew what a Dumeral boa was until...
The market on that is kind of crazy, though.
Yeah, so, we have, like I said, we're going to start the cool down cycle this at the end of the week, maybe next week, we'll see. So I've done a lot of different, research on, how long should I be cooling them down for? Should they still be eating during those cool down? It's a lot of stuff to, looking at the new breeding species and stuff like that. But they are an absolutely beautiful snake, and they only get about 6 feet long. So when you think of a boa constrictor, you're thinking of big, chunky monkeys. But these guys they're very pretty, they're very well tempered, and they're really fun. I think it's a really good intermediate species if you're going from a corn snake or a ball python and you want to start working with larger snakes.
Okay.
So they usually the girl's she's 6? She's a big girl. My male's maybe 5 feet long, but he's smaller. But I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited. And boas do live birth, which is also kind of fun because, when you think of reptiles, you think of just the eggs. But they do live birth, so I'm really excited about being able to see that.
That'll be so much fun. So, blue tongues were really kind of popular for a little bit. I know you guys are working with them.
Yeah. So
are they kind of hit or miss right now?
Yeah, honestly, the trends in the market, it's as a breeder, we having a retail store really helps because definitely. You're breeding not so much whatever the market, dictates for certain species. Ideally, we keep slowly expanding certain projects, but it's mainly to fill our store so that we're not relying on as many breeders
or distributed companies,
right? And then you can control the quality a little better too, when it's your own. That's why we kind of started breeding even just bearded dragons, because in the past I've gotten them from when we first started out from certain breeders, and they had the adenovirus and stargazing, and we would get some clutches right away that would just die within 2 days. And that's one reason why I want to breed them, because then I have I don't have to worry about that anymore. So it's stuff like that. So
that actually leads me to a question, making it up right now, but have some fun. You said you got some bearded dragons from a certain breeder. Now, when you have a species that you want to have at your store and you're not breeding it yourself, I would think you'd go through a distributor or one person who has access to a lot of different types of animals. Is that how it is, or is it also just individual breeders? If I wanted to sell you, I had way too many gargoyle geckos. Right. Had 500 breeders. Could I just sell them to you, or is it both? Well, how does this work?
So it's a little bit of both. I think when we were starting
when we first started out, we didn't breed anything.
No,
so we had to, we went to a few breeders for certain species,
but we mostly worked with the larger companies, larger distributing companies. And then as we started, getting into the quality being a little iffy with some of them, that's when we started reaching out to other breeders. Some of them were fantastic and some of them weren't so great. And so unfortunately, sometimes it is trial by error. and we learned our lesson, and we don't go back to certain companies or breeders, and we just don't work with them.
No, that's fair. You get a reputation for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think since we started, the availability of obviously captive reptiles has gone way up, which is nice. So yeah, I mean, certain species, like a lot of tortoise species, are still wild caught, but they're starting to become more captive bred, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, tortoises is harder because you have to wait until they're 4 inches before you can even sell them. So, pros and cons.
It's such an outdated rule, in my opinion.
It is, but I mean, I get it. I feel like if
you're never going to sell a stink pot, it's never going to be over 4 inches.
It'd be better.
I agree. How if it was just for the aquatic species of having that 4-inch rule, I would be, I would be fine with that, because that's the one where they're literally swimming in their own filth, and you're more likely to get sick from those guys than you are from just a tortoise.
So I'm a big Ninja Turtle, fan, and is it true that the 4-inch rule came from the Ninja Turtles being popular, and then kids getting sick as they're buying baby turtles?
It was in the 70s for the federal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's before Ninja Turtles. We can't blame Ninja Turtles then.
Mid-80s.
No.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even know what they were. They were a mix of box turtle and aquatic turtle, in the original movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's an unspecified turtle, but they can pull their head in. We saw that in the live action. Yeah. So, you have to overanalyze it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
As an adult,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I know you're a Ninja Turtle nerd like I am. Who's your favorite turtle?
I mean, Leonardo for me, but
excellent. All right.
Yeah. And Mikey, Donnie, and then Raphael's always kind of the last guy, obviously. But.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Team Leo.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a brother who's a year younger than me, and we were both Ninja Turtle nerds, and his name was Mike, or it still is Mike, and so his favorite was Michelangelo, and then
the most popular, for sure.
Yeah, but I think now my brother would say Donatello. Where I always liked Blue, so I liked Leonardo.
Yeah,
but I have a soft spot for Raph. I'm a little bit of a rebel myself.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
So, what's your tortoise's name? You have a huge sulcata tortoise. Do you still have that?
Well, we still Tilk.
Yep, Tilk.
So he's about 30 now, but he's one of our 31.
He's so friendly.
Oh yeah,
it's like a dog just walking around and saying hi to everybody.
He's a lot of fun, and we actually have 2 more. We have 2 smaller ones,
Trixie
and Ninja, and we did have Belle, but we got Belle adopted out.
Awesome.
There's only so many of those big guys we can handle in the store. Yeah. So
they're bulldozers. Yeah. Have you ever had any of them knock over displays or make a little bit of a mess other than
not knock over?
not fully knock over, but he'll start dragging some stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the stuff in our store is kind of made to withstand them. You know, when you first walk in, we have that gate, so they can't get to the front door and just block everyone. So
So. No, that's awesome. Yeah, the power of baby gates. You gotta love it.
Oh, I know, right?
Oh yeah.
That's great. Well, okay. What about the other things? So we talked about you've got some great, different species and animals people can come see. What about the products? Because you have some unique. When I was in there, you had some really cool, unique products for even some of the crested geckos. I think you guys had one of those magnetic moss hides. That first time I ever saw that.
Pet tech products. Yeah, we still carry them.
Yeah, we're a little low right now because I like to tinker with this store. I'm tinkering one more time. So
even though he promised me the last time was the last time,
this will probably.
I've heard it before.
But Pet Tech's one of the main products we'll use, the magnetic ledges.
They're so awesome.
High stuff like that.
Very cool.
I mean, we do what.
Do you guys go through just one distributor for all of your pet supply products, or do you guys go through multiple?
So our main distributor, General Pet Supply, is our main one, and that's where we're going to get a lot of the Zilla products, the Zoom Ed products. Exoterra goes through Hagen, so they have their own distributing company. So then we'll go through them to get the Exoterra products in and stuff.
Yeah,
and then PetTech is its own company, and then you also have the Bio Dude, who's his own company. So we do have a good amount of different distributors and places that we do have to order from to keep everything stocked. But it is also nice because we can piggyback on certain stuff. So like if an order is delayed, we do have similar products. I mean, like the PetTech is pretty unique, but most of the other like bigger name brands we can piggyback off of each other.
Yeah, they have similar products, just different lines and everything.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. And so do you guys, when you guys go to the shows, do you ever look for new things to add in, or is there a certain expo just for people who have pet stores?
There are a couple actually. I know, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll have to go find it.
Super Zoo.
There's Super Zoo is one where it's a lot of the stores and distributing companies that you can go to.
Yeah, it's not.
Isn't that in Vegas?
It's in Vegas. Yeah,
it's products. So okay, I have a fun story about that one real quick. So I probably shouldn't even be telling this story online, but I was actually, my wife and I, when we were dating, we went to Vegas for my very first time. Her family loves Vegas, and I had never been before, and so we did the whole strip. And I was working at, I won't say which one, but one of the big box stores as a dog trainer. And so I used to bring my dog Beckett as my therapy dog. You guys know Beckett. But anyway, he wasn't with me in Vegas. So I go to this thing and it says Super Zoo. And it's a big expo, and I didn't know what to expect. And we get to the front, and I'm like, well, we're here. We got extra time before our next show. I already lost all my money. I'm done gambling for the afternoon. Let's go in here. And they get to the door, and they're like, are you part of the industry? And I'm like, the pet industry? Absolutely, I am. And they look at my wife, and they go, are you? And she goes, no, I'll see. I'm going to the slots. So I show them my ID for where I work as a dog trader. They're like, you're not on the list, but yeah, we'll get you a badge. And they put me with a badge with one of the big name box stores on it. I was walking around there like a god. People thought I was like actual like buying power for one of the big box stores. And people were like, hey, you got to see this product. And I remember going up to it was Barney's, right? And they produce, I think, like a lot of the rabbits and small mammals and things like that. I didn't know. I had no idea. And so I'm talking to this guy, and I'm just completely going along, and I'm sort of BSing. And he goes, do you even know who Barney's is? And I go, I think you guys are a retail store? I don't know. And he's like, yeah, what do you do for this company again? And I'm like, I'm a dog trainer. Like, that's it. So he's like, he totally dismissed me after that. But it was cool, just, going in there and seeing the buying power that company had and how people treated me. And I deserved none of it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay. So there's expos like that, which is kind of cool. I'm guessing you guys don't fly out to Vegas to go to that kind of stuff.
No. I mean, you got kids.
Yeah, we got the kids. It's hard.
Yeah.
At some point I would like to go. I think it would be a lot of fun to experience that.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got kids, which is awesome. We're both in a very similar boat when it comes to that. When's the last time you guys were able to go on vacation? Because keeping animals, that's a conversation I have with my wife all the time is, I got to have someone babysit who's competent.
Yeah.
How did you guys go on vacation a lot when you first opened, and how has that changed over time?
I think we've been on like two big,
our honeymoon doesn't count.
No. like two vacations.
Yeah. I mean, when we first opened, we worked every single day. We didn't take a single day off. And then as, the years went by, we started to get a couple employees, and you did the math and started to figure out that like Tuesday is our absolute slowest day. Like, we're going to start closing on Tuesdays and try and actually take a little bit of time for us. And I know when we first started opening, we took turns of like who would wake up really early and go and open, and then the other person would come in a little bit later so that the person who opened could then go home early if they wanted to. But we were like tag teaming a lot. The first couple of years was brutal.
Yeah, I think people need to realize that because I think I've even thought about it, and people who are into reptiles always kind of think, well, what if I take my passion to that next level, right? And that is one of the avenues is to take it to open up your own store. And I think people need to realize no matter whether it's a reptile store or whether it's any other business, you're going to work more when you own the company, right? And when someone can't come in or they're sick, you're going to have to be there, right? And not only do you have to worry about your employees, but you got to worry about your animals too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you guys.
Yeah. It's fun. But to answer your question, we actually went on a vacation this year in March. We went out to Cali to see my dad for a week. That was our first one as a full family, I think.
Yeah.
All 4 of us.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it and didn't kill each other on the way there. Everybody's still in one piece.
I wanted to kill my family, but not him. I mean, like my sisters and my dad.
This family. That's what you do, you know? But traveling with kids too is a lot of fun, but that's a different podcast. But how did you guys manage it back home, right? So if everybody left, do you have employees? You kind of mentioned that earlier.
So we have 2 employees right now, and then we do have a handful of volunteers. And leading up to the time of us actually leaving, I started just typing up everything, what days, what animals get done, certain projects like Pangea has to be replaced, or certain feed days, or certain water bowl days. And so I ended up making like this little packet of like opening procedures, your daily maintenance, your specialty maintenances, and then like closing procedures as well. And like if there was a specific person I wanted to do a specific job on that day, I had that written down for them too. And they said that like writing all of that down and like getting all of that together for them ahead of time like really saved and helped them a lot throughout the week, because they could just go back to list and make sure they're doing absolutely everything to properly care for those animals. And we still had our phones, so like they would call us every now and then and check in or like ask us a couple questions, and we still had our phones on us to help them out with that. It was a lot of prep work.
It's awesome. So they could argue, Alison said you had to clean the poop in this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is like clean rodents. No one likes it.
Right.
Yeah, rodents. Oh, God.
It's like a, twice a week thing. So it's always fun.
Rodents.
So you guys breed your own rodents as well?
On a small scale, but not.
Okay.
We can't keep up with
or just at least keep them.
We can't keep up with them, no.
You got to stop selling snakes.
No.
No. Very cool. So so you got that opportunity. You type 8 it to the extreme, right, and got everything written down.
A little bit, yep.
That's okay. I bet the next time you go, you can just take that and hopefully just tweak it, right? And so that'll make it easier.
I've saved it all. Oh yeah, so I can always tweak the names or like little things here and there. But I definitely saved that. And we were actually considering, I talked to some of the employees about keeping just like daily task lists, just so like everybody knows what has to get done. So everyone's not asking, oh, has this been done yet? Have you done this? Where are we at? Type of situation. But for now, it's working just fine. But
honestly, I could only imagine how you guys keep everything straight, because I mean, I don't have that much. It's literally what's behind me here. And there's sometimes I'm like, do I need to replace the food today? It's like, did I do that yesterday? I forget what I do sometimes. And so I need to like write it down for myself. And I don't even have that much. You've got a whole store of things and all the different species. So you've got to be that organized, right? And so that'll definitely help you for sure. Awesome. Working with, you said you have volunteers. How does that work?
Some of the schools have like, the whole like senior projects and stuff where the kids like have to go out and get like experience and things. They'll reach out to us if they are like interested or if they have one at home. We've also just had like other people ask if we were hiring. We said no, but we always, are willing to take people if you want to help out one day and volunteer. So sometimes people come looking for us. I don't think we've actually ever like posted about volunteers. It's just honestly just people have come to us like, would you accept a volunteer? Like, I just want to get more experience with these animals. Can I come and help? We're like, absolutely.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky so far for volunteers. So
that's awesome.
Most of them have been pretty great. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got it, a passionate person. If they're seeking you out to say, I want to learn about these animals. I with my day job, one of the things I do is I moderate a club for animal welfare and education. And we're always looking for things to do and road trips to take so that these kids can learn.
Mm-hmm.
Working with animals is different than just keeping an animal sometimes. And what does that look like? What are the different avenues? Because everybody goes, what would you like to do when you grow up? I'd love to be working with animals. Well, unless you want to be a vet, what else is there? Right.
Yeah, that's a very broad,
so it's a very broad statement, but it's fun to get that experience. So that's awesome that you guys are giving back to the community and just giving that education to people and a few less bins to clean. So that's fantastic. You're like, they didn't do a good enough job. I had to go back and re-scrub it.
Like, they won't clean it. Like, you tell them to do something, and then it's just like somehow didn't do it correctly. And you're like, all right. There's always a
one thing.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned just growing up and having my own house and having my own stuff, and any kind of time, same thing with your company. Nobody is going to care as much about your stuff as you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you pay them. Right. And so that's where maturity comes in. You just get it done yourself a lot of the times. And you got to learn to delegate. Otherwise you can't go on vacation. But you guys are working that out, which is awesome. I've had an absolute blast just chatting with you guys. Hopefully people who are interested in, just knowing the ins and outs of owning a store like yours, got something out of this. I know we didn't talk a huge amount about gargoyles, but I think it's fun to kind of mix it up a little bit. And you guys are such a huge inspiration to me, and you guys have made such an impact in my life. I had to have you on. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So where can people find you if they want to either visit your store or they want to find you online? What's the best place for people to reach out?
We do have a website, which is just CuriousCreaturesLLC.com. And on there's a contact page with like all of our information. We've got all the little social media buttons up at the top so they can click those links and find us on all of our socials. We do have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we do have a TikTok now.
Nice.
A little bit of fun videos on there with one of our employees. And we have a lot of information on there. So we have like a whole breeding page, like people can see some of the adults that are on there. So like when they come in, if they want to know who the parents were, like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so and so-and-so, and you can go. And we do have an adoptable page exactly for a lot of our rescues and donations. So like we kind of blast them a little bit more to get them homes. And
awesome.
A lot of other information on there.
Very cool. Well, yeah, guys, I'm telling you, if you're in the Chicagoland area, up by Wrigley, look them up. They're not far away, okay? And go check out their store. It's amazing. You won't be disappointed. And again, Alison and Andy, thank you so much for coming on. You guys are the best, and I wish you guys 10 more years of success.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and want to encourage me to make more Gargoyle Gecko content, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, share this with a friend, and maybe check out one of the videos right over there. I'll see you next time on Gecko Cove.